So, what do bouncers do with drug dealers when they catch them in their clubs? So, my name is Mike, and I used to be a bouncer at one of the biggest nightclubs in New York City for many years. I was actually our head of narcotics, and I worked directly with the NYPD as a liaison. We catch drug dealers, and I'll tell you exactly what we did with them. But our club was massive, right? We had 2,000 to 8,000 people a night in that club, and you had between 10 to 30 guards to protect that. And by that, I mean protect the people. Make sure people were inside having a good fucking time, and that you didn't have some nasty, slimy ass drug dealer coming in and selling freaking bags of laundry detergent as coke, or fake drugs or flour or whatever, and fucking people up, selling them. I mean, thank God I'm not in the scene now, because now you got fentanyl, you got shit that would just straight up kill your patrons. And we were pretty fucking serious with that shit back then anyways. So, I can't imagine us upping the intensity of what we did to these drug dealers more than we already did. But because our club was so big, organized crime and professional gangs, right? Like the Bloods, the Crips, Latin Kings, the kind of gangs that operated, the big street gangs that operated in New York City, they would try and get their drug dealers in because, they can get one or two dealers in, and those dealers would make 10 to 20 plus $1,000 a night with, bags of pills or coke or whatever they could get in there. They were making really good fucking money. So we were on a mission to stop these motherfuckers. And, at the front door, you had people come in, they'd show their ID or whatever. Then they'd go inside. They'd purchase a ticket if they didn't have one already. And then they would get patted down by our guys at the front. And, the guys that are front. So the guys at the front, they'd give them a good pat down real quick, just kind of check their ankles, make sure they don't have any kind of bulging, something in their ankles where they might have a couple of baggies of coke or something like that in their socks, in their pockets, wherever. People had drugs in all kinds of places, and we'll talk about that another time. But these drug dealers, they found ways of smuggling in large amounts of drugs. And I said they'd hide them all kinds of places. They'd hide them usually in their socks, inside of their shoe. Somewhere they'd tape a bag inside of their thigh or something like that, or they'd have something up in their ass, or tape somewhere on their body. Try and maybe have a flat pack, Ziploc baggie flat, get across their stomach or something. And these guys go in. Like I said, they'd be making really good money. So what did we do when we actually caught them? And officially, what our policy was that we would catch them and we'd confiscate their drugs, we'd take their ID, and we would hold them. We had a kind of an area in the club, kind of in a back office area, where we would hold them down in the basement for the NYPD to come. And we turn them over to the NYPD with all the evidence. We say, here's the drug dealer, here's 10 baggies of coke he had on him, here's his ID, right? And we turn them over for prosecution. So we want them charged. The NYPD would charge them with whatever felony possession with intent to distribute or whatever, trespass, a couple other things. And then we would go to court. I would go to court. I went to court regularly a lot, and I would sit there and I would tell usually a grand jury that this is what's happening. This is what I saw the guy doing. This is how we caught him, and that would be it. And we'd fucking throw the book at him. And oftentimes, very rarely, I think I only went to one trial. Things didn't go to trial because the drug dealers would want to take a plea deal, and New York City is very lax with with how they deal with drug dealers. So most of the time they didn't get in too much trouble, especially if it's the first time getting caught or whatever. They'd do a couple of weeks in jail and be out. So they didn't care. So that happened sometimes. Not sometimes, I should say, because we caught a lot. I mean, we catch drug dealers, multiple drug dealers a night sometimes. Every week. I mean, we were doing several arrests a week. Certain big nights, big techno nights. I mean, we catch 3 to 5 drug dealers. And I'm not talking about just people who are just users, because there were tons of people trying to come in, kids that would have a couple Mollies in their pocket, right? Some dude would have a baggie of Coke in his wallet. Many people, girls would have, pills or drugs, stuffed up in their bras for personal use or use for their friends, right? People would smuggle things in. So we would catch people doing that all the time. But these drug dealers, right, it was a different kind of thing. But oftentimes, if we caught the drug dealers, we just deal with them in a way that they would never, ever, ever want to come back to the club. So it wasn't turning them over to the NYPD. We would just take care of it ourselves. And I'll tell you guys a story about one guy, what we did with him. I caught this motherfucker, and we caught this drug dealer, right? We had guys that were working undercover, so they'd be in their dress like normal or whatever. Or you could be patrolling around inside the dance room. There's thousands of people partying inside this big dance floor, and bouncers are just standing there, kind of off to the sides, or maybe walking through the crowd, and you see some dude, passing off cash and drugs or whatever. It could be a one-thing transaction, but you see money, going in one hand, pills going in the other. And then the bouncers, would call it in and say, hey, there's a dude, wearing a blue shirt or whatever. I saw him doing transaction with a guy with a mohawk who's wearing a white shirt. And we'd give out a description. And then we'd go into the crowd and we'd fucking grab them both. We'd grab the dealer and we'd grab, the customer, if you want to call it that. And, we'd grab them real quick, hold their hands so they can't start reaching in their pockets to fucking try to dump shit, trying to dump evidence and stomp all over it and stuff, because people would do that. So we'd fucking grab these guys, we'd drag them into, some kind of a obscure little place. We had a stairwell in one part of the club where we drag them sometimes if we were close enough to that. We drag them to this empty ass stairwell. There's no cameras, no nothing in there. And we grab these motherfuckers. And we, start asking, what the fuck are you doing? And the guys, oh no, I didn't do anything. And the guys, oh, I didn't know what's going on. And they start acting all scared. Oh, please, I didn't do anything. And we, pat them down real quick. And you'd find, the customer's got, a pill or a baggie that he just bought from the dealer. And then we'd say, you bought it from this fucking guy. And the guy says, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, or whatever, right? Usually the customer is like apologetic and sorry. They don't want to get in trouble. The drug dealer, if they're apologetic and sorry, then we might deal with them a certain way. But if they are being a fucking smart ass and they're acting a little cocky, like yeah, whatever, just take my drugs, leave me alone, leave me the fuck out of here. We didn't make it that fucking easy. We would definitely take their drugs. And then we'd go through his fucking pockets. We'd take all his money. And then we'd proceed to beat the living shit out of him. We'd fucking beat the crap out of that motherfucker till he learned some respect. And you do that because he will never fucking come back again. We didn't want people like that in our club causing problems. And oftentimes, turning him over to the NYPD was not enough, because you'd see that same motherfucker come back later. And if we did see them come back after they'd been arrested, and a couple months later or a year later, we see that same guy coming back and doing the same shit, we did not turn him over to the NYPD. We gave him that special little street justice. And that's pretty much what happened to drug dealers at our club. This is back in the day before there was, too much of the Instagram. There was, a lot of live videos, that kind of stuff. So oftentimes when you're beating the crap out of somebody, people are filming it or whatever. I mean, we grab their cell phones and fucking chuck them across the dance floor. Like, there was none of that shit. And that's what would happen oftentimes. For the most part, though, one of the reasons that I worked there as long as I did, and I was so trusted, and I worked as a liaison with the NYPD, is because I was doing the right thing. I was grabbing the guys, and I would turn them over with the evidence and everything like that, and I was trusted to do the right thing. But every now and then, you had some guys who, the law enforcement, the court system, it wasn't going to scare them straight. It wasn't going to keep them away from us. That freaking flea was going to be back there crawling under our skin, trying to sell dope again to our patrons. So fuck those people. And yeah, we made sure that they didn't come back. So that's exactly what would happen with drug dealers most of the time.